hey, if the marriage is on the rocks, you really need to kind of put the financial dream and journey you're on right now on hold for a minute.
People will actually even sabotage themselves to try to take the other person down. It's like, I'll burn my own business to the ground so I don't have to pay this person alimony.
If you know that divorce is coming, start gathering as much data as you can, play little investigator, start building files, gather any data you can or any information you can that might be easier to get now rather than later.
Sports teams don't win on their defense, they win on the offense.
Well, I'm excited to welcome Rebecca Zung. I've been on her podcast, which was amazing. And then I realized all of the similarities we had from different perspectives, helping a lot of times the same clients. And you just don't know what you don't know. And you don't go to your podiatrist for your LASIK surgery. And you don't go to a tax lawyer like me for your family law. So we are both specialists in our respective fields. Rebecca's a best-selling author, negotiation expert, known for her conflict resolution, particularly in divorce cases. And she's been recognized as a best lawyer in America, and has been featured on media outlets like Forbes, Newsweek, NPR, blah, 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 all those good things. And her bestseller is S.L.A.Y the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. And that already puts me on the defense. I'm feeling already nervous. I'm supposed to be interviewing you. Now I'm like all nervous. So Rebecca, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I love it when two attorneys get together. It's so fun.
Yeah, people love it.
That's their favorite.
Oh, it's a party. Well, my followers know me and my listeners know what we talk about, but everyone, this is, I don't know if you want to call it a blind spot, but just something we don't talk about enough. It's not fun to talk about. It's uncomfortable. And so when I'm doing asset protection and tax planning, I've even had my attorneys more and more ask in the initial consult, how's your marriage? It can totally change the landscape of our estate plan, the tax planning, what's going on. And when we see that it's a wreck waiting to happen, well, a lot of times we'll put a lot of legal planning on hold and say, go figure that out.
That is so smart. That's so smart that you do that now.
Yeah, well, so I'm setting the stage for one of my first questions because all of us know that's what we do here. But Rebecca, man, let's say, maybe that was a great setup. Let's say that client is not on the call with their spouse, male or female, and they say, yeah, I'm worried about asset protection and tax and all that, but my marriage, it's got to end. Where do you start with that? I can't wait to ask you a whole litany of questions, but let's just start there. They go, what do I need to do, Rebecca? And they're freaking out.
Well, there's so many questions I have. First of all, do they have a pre-now?
Yeah, I'd say 95% of my clients don't.
Right. Most don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did they, I have more questions.
Yeah, you go, girl. I love it. Work it. So let's actually back up and tell me, let's get to know you for a minute too, because I'm so excited to have you walk us through what you do as a high stakes family lawyer, if I may. And so many of my listeners are going to want to know, oh no, if this does happen to me and I need to talk about divorce, tell us how you found this career, why you do it and love it, because I know you're so passionate about it. Tell us how you do this.
Well, I actually didn't plan on doing high net worth divorce. I thought I was going to do something around business associations. I had gotten the book award for business associations in law school. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the highest grade for that class. And I loved it. I thought business associations was the thing for me. My husband and I met in law school. He was a year ahead of me, and he had already started in his career, and we went to a dinner, an attorney dinner while I was still in law school. And I happened to meet this woman who was one of the top family law attorneys in the country at the time. And she wooed me into coming to work for her by saying, hey, I do high net worth family law. My cases are basically like business associations that are dissolving. And she got me to come work for her. And really, High net worth family law is a very, very specialized area of the law because you have to have an understanding of trust law and corporations law and tax law, all sorts of areas that most people, even most family law attorneys, don't need to have an intimate knowledge about. So it was a great experience for me. I ended up going out on my own eventually and building a big, big practice. But then I always say it built it and then it ate me. And I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So during COVID, I started on YouTube and now I really have a training corporation and I've designed my own AI and we have a lot of really exciting things happening. But that's how I fell into it. I fell into it sort of by accident.
What was one of the biggest surprises that when you started to have your first cases, that you experienced when you saw this couple starting to fight financially and emotionally and all the ways they can get so ugly? And I think we can all imagine that. We've seen a few movies like that. But what was was there anything surprising to you that you were like, huh, I didn't expect that? Like, it was just kind of odd.
You mean what surprised me about being in family law at all? I mean, I think probably just how ugly people can be and how people will actually even sabotage themselves in order to try to take the other person down. Things that make no sense, like I'll burn my own business to the ground so I don't have to pay this person alimony. I'd rather pay you attorney's fees than pay the other person. Things like that make no sense to me because they're not thinking from their prefrontal cortex. They're thinking from their limbic brain.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I think we all know a divorce can get ugly, but I guess, and I've been on the inside here with being a lawyer too, just not on the front line as a divorce attorney. And so I see the ugliness and and I can't imagine what you've seen because I've seen it's just so sad. And it's so much money is lost and wasted in the process. So let's say, okay, so let's go back to my question here too, because I'm dying to ask this. Clients come in and want to do asset protection. Their biggest threat is their marriage.
Yeah.
And they may not know that.
Right.
And let's say they know the marriage is on the rocks and they know a marriage is looming, a divorce is looming. What do you recommend them to start doing? And I know it's not hiding assets because that's BS and it pisses you off and me too.
Yeah.
But is there anything you can do?
So I'm assuming I'm talking to the moneyed spouse in this conversation, right? Is that the assumption?
Yeah, let's do that. Fair enough. Because there's two situations there. Let's start there. Yeah. Well, the money spouse, the one, maybe the breadwinner or the founder, the president, whatever it is of most of their holdings. Yeah, they're like going to be more territorial, I suspect. And yeah, what do you tell them?
So I always say that what a judge is going to do as far as property is concerned, because there's 5 main areas of any family law case, which are the property division, spousal support, potentially, the custody, parental decision-making authority aspect is number 3. Number 4 is child support, and number 5 is fees, attorney's fees. So those are the 5 main areas in any family law case, and I name them in that order for a reason, because that is the order. And the reason why is each one of those things affects the next thing. So if you have a moneyed couple, then the property division has to come first, because if one party is going to be receiving assets that throws off income, then that affects their support claim. It also affects the child support claim. It also affects the fees claim. So that really kind of has to come first. And then alimony is next, or support, spousal support, whatever it's called in your state, because that affects the child support. So if you're getting a lot in alimony, then that will be counted, or if you're getting any alimony, it's counted toward your income for support. So, and then parental decision-making authority third, because, or custody, or the parenting plan third, because income and overnights is what's looked at the in the guidelines many times. So that's why it's important to look at everything in order. So just going into the property division piece of it, which I think is where you're talking about, that I would have questions. So the questions that I would have are, first of all, is there a prenup? Which no, most of the time it's no. Second of all, how long of a marriage is this? Is it a year or is it 30? Because there is a huge difference on what kinds of assets might have been accumulated during that period of time. And then the next thing is, how were the assets acquired? Was it passively or was it actively? Were they earned assets, earned income, acquired those assets? Because earned income, generally by and large, is either marital if you're an equitable distribution state, or community property if you're in a community property state. So it's not necessarily how something is titled. It's what were the funds, what was the source of the funds that acquired that particular property or padded that bank account or that retirement account or whatever it is. What was the source? So the first thing a judge is going to do is create 3 piles, which is the his, hers, and theirs pile. And the theirs pile is the one that's going to get divided. But the things that are going to get carved off are premarital assets, potentially, if they've not been commingled, or potentially inherited assets, separate assets, things like that. So, but my question would be, how were these assets accumulated and when?
Okay, this is good. I know because it's hard to get general answers to these tough questions because they're going to be so specifically driven by the fact pattern of what's going on with this couple, and they're always different. But let me throw this out at you then. Okay, this is my, grass is green, sky is blue, glass is half full, empty, Mark Kohler. I mean, glass is half full, Mark Kohler. Very optimistic. Here's what I think. If no one is trying to cheat or hide assets, I don't think you can really prepare financially for divorce. If we just go with the law, it is what it is. It's either a marital asset or it's not. The law is very clear on what is or isn't. As you go through those questions, we could spend a whole hour just talking about inheritance, for heaven's sakes, right? So so it is what it is. And then a judge is going to divide it according to law. And so it seems like to me, all the fighting is emotional. If they took the emotions out, it's a transaction, for crying out loud. That's my crazy talk, maybe.
Well, I'm going to say yes and no, because I'm going to give you a very typical lawyer answer, which is it depends. So it depends because there are gray areas, and these are the areas that people end up fighting over, which are, for example, if a business was created and started during the marriage, and now it's worth, potentially $30 million or whatever, but is it actually worth 30 million? So now you're going to get a forensic accountant involved to decide, well, no, we're not counting this, or no, this is, or no, they're not actually making this much in income. No, this is actually, there's ways that you can carve off different types of goodwill. There's personal goodwill and enterprise goodwill. And in Florida, for example, enterprise goodwill is a marital asset, but personal goodwill is not. And so that's where people are going to start to dig in and fight. And that's just one example.
So if you're talking to the money spouse, let's stay with that for a moment. You might say, hey, if you're planning an expansion, if you're creating some new value for your business, it would behoove you to get this divorce behind you and an appraisal of what the business is right now, rather than 2 years from now after you create this new product or this new service. So let's rip the Band-Aid off now would be a planning technique. And then once the divorce is over, go out and create your new revenue source idea, develop it, whatever. And that's not unethical, or is it?
No, it's not. No. I mean, it just depends on whether or not it's actually going to be that much more valuable. I mean, I guess it's hard to know, but the rub is that there's other types of assets, let's say stock options, that there's sometimes a question on, if they're vested or not vested, or when were they earned, and what was the evaluation that went into those stock earnings? Like, in other words, was it 2 years ago, or was it, that person has to continue to work in the business in order to realize those options? That things like that. That's where people get stuck in the mud.
So let's turn the tables for just a minute. And now you have a consult with the non-money spouse. I guess historically that might be the wife. More and more I see both sides, of course, breadwinners. But let's say this non-money spouse comes in and says, I know my husband or whoever, my wife is cheating on me, whatever. I know that the divorce is looming. What should I do? And I'm going to say, I guess more of this issue is about the forensicness, the looking under rocks. What do you talk about with them?
For sure. I would say gather as much documentation as you can, because a lot of times the non-moneyed spouse has no idea where anything is or how to even access it. I don't know where the assets are. I don't know how much money this person makes. So that can be an issue. I mean, not that it can't be figured out, but the more you can do that detective work on your own, the less you have to pay lawyers or forensics to do it for you. So I would say start gathering documentation, take pictures of statements, just so that you at least know where things are being held. So that's one thing. And yeah, with that type of a spouse, you're going to hire a forensic probably for at least business valuation, but also potentially income valuation, true income valuation. And then a third area that you might need a financial forensic would be the lifestyle analysis. So understanding how much you've spent on your lifestyle in the last, probably 12 months, maybe 24, depending on whether or not there was a major shift. But, and that's like, it's almost like getting a colonoscopy, I'm going to just say, because it's literally every little thing that you've spent money on, your pet expenses, your hair, your Botox, your vacations, eating out, the groceries, nail salon, literally everything, and coming up with an average of what that lifestyle has actually looked like for a support claim.
Okay, so distill that down, a couple points would be, if you know that divorce is coming, start gathering as much data as you can, play little investigator, start building files, gather any data you can, or any information you can that might be easier to get now rather than later. And number two,
well, it also gives the lawyer
starts living a little larger lifestyle.
Well, potentially, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. Now, it just depends. Like some states don't count like regular savings as a lifestyle. So if the party regularly put $5,000 a month aside in savings, then that's not going to be considered a need as far as the needs analysis for a lifestyle analysis for a support claim. So yeah, go ahead and start spending that money instead. That's one thing. Don't get a job right before, because then that income is going to be counted toward your support claim and reduce your need. So I would definitely say that. I mean, as far as like knowing where things are, I mean, it's more so like that it gives the lawyer sort of a place to start, because then they can go, okay, I can go subpoena JP Morgan, or I can go subpoena this bank or whatever, just so that they at least have a place to start. The other thing I would recommend the non-moneyed spouse do is have a stash of cash, at least start accumulating some cash that they can access, because if that moneyed spouse decides to be, difficult, which they're known to be at times. Yes, you can go and get in front of a judge for a temporary relief hearing, but it may take 2 months to get in front of the judge or 3 months to get in front of the judge. And then the judge may take another month to give you a ruling. So during that period of time, you are going to want to have some kind of stash of cash, not just to live on, but also to go hire the lawyers, get everything started, because it could be a while before you get a hearing on temporary relief.
Tell me what you think of this statement too. I tell clients this, and I don't know, maybe we're called counselors for a reason under the law. We are counseling our clients on financial and legal, tax and emotional and family matters. We're counselors. And so clients, without meeting with a family law attorney, will oftentimes ask a trusted advisor like me, what do I do? And my general advice oftentimes is, hey, if the marriage is on the rocks, you really need to kind of put the financial dream and journey you're on right now on hold for a minute, because building, growing, acquiring, all this stuff that you want to do, because they're coming to see me to build a trifecta and a strategy and save tax and go boom, boom. I'm like, whoa. If your marriage is on the rocks, you either got to rip the cord and be done with it, or get it fixed and do a post-nup or something.
Post-nup is always
I don't want to work on your finances till you got your crap together.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, what happens a lot of times is the moneyed spouse will have, what we call SIDS, or sudden income deficiency syndrome, because especially if they're an entrepreneur, they play with the money and, they kind of, that receivable account, I'm not going to go collect on that right now. I'll just tell the client, hold on. They play little games like that. But it's usually pretty easy to see that in the forensics process.
Now, in your book, and I this is a wild title. I want to repeat it for everybody. Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. I want to ask, because I've seen it. I'm not going to say anything yet. Who's more likely the narcissist? The non-money spouse or the money spouse?
Oh, that is really both sides. I can tell you this, that I used to think that a narcissist was a male, bragging, sort of misogynistic, hold court, demand the best table in the restaurant, kind of didn't have a whole lot of empathy, didn't care about people, like sort of a, what we used to call bore, right? Like boorish type of a person. And what I found was after I had built my practice, was in the process of transitioning into, what I am ultimately doing now. But during that time, I had been engaged in different entrepreneurial endeavors. And in one of them, I ended up with this female covert passive-aggressive narcissist, which I did not know that such a thing even existed. I just knew it was miserable, and it was a miserable situation, but she seemed so nice to everybody else, and she seemed so kind, but yet there was this underlying jealousy and this underlying competition, and I would find out that things were being withheld from me, information. It was super passive-aggressive. Oh, I could have sworn I put you on that email chain. I don't know how your name got left off of that. Things like that. And it was just death by 1,000 cuts. And then I found out later that she was a covert passive-aggressive narcissist. And they're almost just as stealthily insidious and evil as a narcissist, quite frankly.
What we all think of an outward-facing narcissist. Very interesting. So, wow. Okay. So we talked about, and I know I could talk to you for hours about this, because it is, in the reason why is I would bet everybody listening, either you yourself or a close friend is in a tough marriage. Everybody. Yeah. Everybody knows somebody, if it's not you.
Yeah.
And You're going to be having a drink with them, a cocktail, a talk, a walk, a hike, a drive, and they're going to vomit all of this emotion in them and ask you for advice. And so everybody listening today, if this isn't hitting home for you, just some of these points, I hope that you're taking something away, because you're going to be a shoulder for someone. And you're going to want to get them to the right lawyer, get them to the right coach, the counselor. And I want to talk about what you're doing now moving forward too, Rebecca. I have just a couple more questions. Your experience here is so valuable to so many people. But we just talked about the two people that come to you that know the divorce is coming. Now someone walks in the door, money spouse or non-money spouse, and they're like, oh my gosh, my spouse just filed for divorce. What do I do? Wow, I know this. You're like, Mark, I'm going to start asking questions. I don't know. I mean, it's like, where do you go with that? But you're on a different side of the table again. I don't know. What do you do?
Well, I mean, the first thing they have to process through is their fear and their emotion of it, because one of the things I say all the time is your identity precedes your destiny. And so really understanding, who are you in this process? Who are you showing up as? Who are you showing up for? Because if you don't believe that you can get the results that you want, no one can help you. You can have the best lawyer on the planet, but if you want to remain in this victim state and, no one can help me, and that person's way smarter and they have all the money, and no one is going to be able to get the results for you. So really starting to process that emotion in a way that you're going to be able to show up. And I always say the divorce paradox is that during the worst, most heinous, horrible time in your life, it's like right up there with death, and public speaking is like the people's biggest fear, the thing they hate the most, right? You have to make the most critical decisions of your life about everything, the things that mean the most to you, your business, your family, your money, your future, and you have to make them clear-headed, because you're going to have to live with these things for going forward. So wow. The fastest thing that you can do is figure out self-care, get a support group, get that team of good people around you, get coaching if you need it, whatever resources and tools you're going to need so that you can power through this and be strong and make clear-headed decisions.
I like it. One last question on this topic, and I promise, is this self-sabotage that you alluded to at the beginning. And so someone here listening again, or is going to have that friend come to them, is going to have so much hate in them or anger against their spouse they're in this fight with, that, like you said, they will burn the business down rather than give them half of it. And someone listening, that could be, you're just like, you have no idea how bad he is or how bad she is or whatever. Right. I've been there. I'm divorced, and it was a very expensive, difficult, long divorce. And I'm with a beautiful woman now, Patty, and we're business partners and have 7 amazing kids that we combined together, and we're just so happy. And it's tough. For my ex-wife, it was tough. I recognize that. And it was very hard. But I didn't get to that point where I was ready to destroy everything to hurt her. And I don't know, do you have any advice, or what do you want to tell them? Just to shake them and go, don't do this. Or I don't know, what do you do to try to get someone off that cliff? Or is there anything you can do?
Well, those are the people that really tend to have the more narcissistic tendencies, to be honest with you. And now that we know more about the brain science, which the brain science is that those people tend to have a more hypersensitive amygdala. And so their amygdala gets hijacked very quickly, very easily. And when their amygdala is hijacked like that, that's when that limbic brain turns on and the prefrontal cortex literally shuts down, because they're in survival mode. They think that this is what they have to do in order to survive, but they don't realize that what they're actually doing is self-sabotaging. So what I tell people who have the ability to understand that is going back to what I was just saying to you earlier, which is breathing techniques, meditation, vagus nerve stimulation, whatever you need to do to calm your nervous system so that you can get back into your prefrontal cortex, that thinking, judgment, rational brain, instead of being in full on emotion, fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol levels off the charts, because you're not thinking clearly if that's where you are.
Wow. Well, anybody out there, if you feel like you're not thinking clearly, stop, because you're hurting yourself too.
Yeah.
That
and your kids, potentially.
And say again.
And your kids, potentially.
Yeah. The extended, even if they're adult children, you're hurting them.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, after this amazing career in this very tough arena, you found a new passion and dream, and I wanted to hear about this just as much. Can you tell us what you're doing now and what lives you're changing?
Yeah, so during COVID, I started on YouTube, which was really, I just thought, okay, who's going to watch this other than my mom and her church friends, but which is pretty much the only ones that watch at the beginning. But then I did one video on how to negotiate with a narcissist, and that took off. And so I really didn't think, I remember saying to my husband, I do not want to be the narcissist queen. This is not my path. Mm-hmm. But God had a different plan for me. And I hope I can say that. But I think it sounds kind of corny.
Damn straight, you should. I mean, I didn't come from an amoeba. There's someone out there. There's a divine presence, and I'm being guided. So I really do.
I just really, truly believe that, he chose me to be this spokesperson on behalf of people who are feeling disempowered, or feeling voiceless, and
or being attacked by a narcissist, or dealing with one.
Yes. And so I started to get all this mail and these messages about how I'd saved their lives. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I just kept going with it. And I developed the S.L.A.Y program initially, which is strategy, leverage, anticipate, and you, which is the acronym for it. And then
whoa. That was I've already been writing down notes during this whole thing, and I want to just get that real quick. Everybody's got to get your book on this too. But what's this acronym? Say it again.
It was S.L.A.Y. I mean, that's the brand, and it stands for strategy, which is create your strategy, create your vision, your GPS, where it is that you're going. That's first, because from that emanates your action plan, and then next is leverage, figuring out how to create leverage, and then A is anticipate what the narcissist is going to do, stay 2 steps ahead of them. And then Y is the you, which is what we were talking about earlier, which is creating your identity. Who are you? Who's showing up? And being on the offensive instead of the defensive. Sports teams don't win on their defense. They win on the offense, right? And so I created that 5 years ago. My S.L.A.Y program has sold, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands. I mean, at least 15,000 of those. And then a couple of years ago, I unveiled my certification, and I have a Justice Blueprint program. Those are higher ticket with coaching and that sort of thing. And then last year, I unveiled my S.L.A.Y, which is the Justice Tech Legal Leverage Engine. It's the first of its kind that takes scattered documentation from all different sources. It could be your communication, text messages, social media, bank statements, credit card statements, deposition transcripts, whatever it is, and synthesizes it all and looks for patterns of deception and manipulation and inconsistencies, and instantly creates court-ready exhibits and applies the local law in whatever state or country you're in, so that it saves you so much time and money and energy and fees and trauma and headache, and gets you the results that you want.
Yeah, and just on that note, everybody, I want to emphasize the importance of that AI that Rebecca is talking about, because you've got 2 problems. You hire a forensic accountant, mm-hmm. and to try to figure out what your spouse has been doing with the money.
Right.
They're expensive. You're not their only client. It's going to take hours and hours. They don't understand your client. They don't understand your world. They're trying to just get a job done and get out. Fine. And then you do know your spouse. You do know the world. You know what's there. but you don't have the skills of the forensic accountant. You think there's patterns there, but you can't articulate them. The forensic accountant's like, what the hell are you talking about? And so this AI just kind of like brings that all together and says, look at this. This might be where you're missing the boat.
Correct. So, for example, on to your point, and I love talking to other lawyers because they get this immediately, is let's say somebody puts on their financial affidavit that they're making $40,000 a year or something like that. Sure. But then their bank statements demonstrate that they're spending $200,000 a month. And so clearly there's a discrepancy now between what one said and what the other one said. And then maybe in their deposition, they said something else. And then maybe the credit card statement shows something else. And so this will actually pick all of that up immediately and create an exhibit for you saying, financial discrepancies, financial inconsistencies, or lies, or something like that, financial deception, manipulation. It might discover, for example, and this is what distinguishes it from a regular ChatGPT or whatever, because it's been programmed to look for patterns. So, for example, if somebody transferred assets just before filing, a GPT might not say, "Hey, there's a problem with that." Whatever, it's not there. But this will pick that up and go, wait a minute, this might be some kind of a fraudulent transfer. We might need to do a clawback here. You need to take a look at this.
I love it. I've been wanting to relate personal stories terribly in this podcast, but that is not appropriate. I remember.
Oh, come on, do just us.
No, oh my gosh, no. But this has been so amazing, and I've written down all sorts of little notes. I love that income deficiency syndrome.
Sudden income deficiency syndrome. So SIDS.
Sudden income deficiency. I'm in divorce, so I have nothing now. So they start to go in this crazy.
All of a sudden, they don't make any money. They made $2 million last year, but this year they don't make any. It's $40,000.
Wow. And I like that identity, procedure, destiny, this strategy, leverage, anticipate, and then you. So good. Well, where can people get some of these amazing resources you've created for these people that are really in a tough situation?
Yeah. So, I would say people could start with my Crush My Negotiation Prep playbook. I've literally, I think 150,000 or more have downloaded that. So you can get that at winmynegotiation.com. So I would start with that. It's totally free. Other than that, my YouTube is RebeccaZung.tv. My Instagram is at Rebecca Zung, and my website is that as well. So yeah.
It's all connected. We'll make sure all of that's in the program notes, everybody, too. So don't stress that you didn't have a pen and paper handy. And Rebecca, thanks so much for spending your valuable time with us. And I know it's going to help somebody for sure. You'll get another message in the mail. You saved my life, Rebecca. Thank you.
My pleasure. It was my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much. Wish you the best. Have a happy holiday season. And everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of the Main Street Business Podcast. And God bless you in your effort to build a relationship in a marriage, survive after one, or be a best friend to someone in the middle of that challenge. So everyone, take care. Thanks, Rebecca.